Welcome to the Headley Highlight Show's Headley Headspaces. And this Headspace is called Not All Coups Are Made Equal. So before I jump into my headspace, which is not all coups are made equal, can I thank you so much for your listening ears once again. Thank you for your patience. Yes, I needed a bit of rest and relaxation, which I've had, but I'm back now and I hope I have your contributions, comments, likes, shares, just as usual. Don't forget to subscribe also to DeniseHeadley.com, where you can make a donation. I'm very partial to 3 rings and chips and a piece of Bitcoin. So let's jump straight into this. Not all coups are made equal. Now, if you have been following me for some time, or maybe not, because you just got other more interesting things to do with your day, you might have or may not have found out or known that there was a coup attempt in Benin, which is effectively Nigeria, because Benin was part of Nigeria before it was cut up anyway, but that's another story. But essentially, there was an attempted coup in Benin last week Sunday. Now, the government who is in Benin at the moment, they are basically a French puppet, and it appeared, or how it was being presented, was that this was an opportunity like the Ibrahim Traoré effect in the Sahel states, which had taken place. However, things have been somewhat not so clear cut. So essentially what happened, a military group of individuals took over Benin. They said that the president was deposed. France, of course, which has massive interest in Benin, asked its friend and associate, Mr. Tinubu, who is the head of ECOWAS and also the leader of a neighboring country, which is Nigeria. Okay, don't forget Nigeria and Benin was one country and it was cut up. That was what you had the Benin Empire with. But essentially what happened, Mr. Tinubu worked so quickly for his French support, their French continued support, that he sent in fighter jets. And they crushed the coup within a week. The coup leaders were to be arrested, and the prime minister, who was flown out and flown back in, was essentially said, look, we're going to squash these mutineers. Now, what is important in this situation is, when I initially heard the story, I thought, oh my gosh, this is the Ibrahim Traoré effect. We're going to have another people-based revolution grassroots movement which takes the country over for the benefit of the people. I don't think that's the case, because like I said, not all coups are equal. And essentially, that appears to be what's happening. There appears to be that there was a number of things taking place, and I've been looking at some contributors which I'm going to share with you in a second. And from what I can understand, the president in Benin was trying to effectively create a longer period that he could be in government. The neighboring Togo government, for whatever reason, which has its own problems with its ruling dynasty, and we're going to pick up on that, somehow are involved in it, but not for the benefit of the people. So I'm going to play you some creators, let them give you their thoughts, and then maybe we can chew over some of the things they've shared.
Why the military in Benin chose to take power. It wasn't an Ibrahim Traoré style situation, no. It was, they saw that their president was trying to turn Benin into a monarchy. So the president of Benin was introducing a new legislation to make the term limit for presidents 7 years. That means one president could be in power for 14 years. And the military was like, yeah, we're not doing 14 years of the same person. They tried to talk him out of it. He refused. So they decided, all right, if you're not going to acquiesce, then we're going to kick you out. And now, apparently, from what I'm seeing online, they're being hunted down by Benin forces, Nigerian forces, and French forces. Again, French military is in Africa, on the continent of Africa, searching for Africans who helped trying to liberate their country from France. There's French. Also, this is a good moment to remember that there are French troops in Nigeria. The president of Niger came out and alleged that there are French troops in Nigeria. He cited a town in Maiduguri State. I said Maiduguri State. He cited a town near Maiduguri where the bandits have cleaned the whole town and the French military is deployed there. And the bandits have surrounded the town. So if you try to drive down to that town, the bandits have orders to kill anybody they see coming, to protect people, to protect the French, so that nobody drives there to go see the French. Remember that.
So when I came across that creator, I thought that was a really interesting element to the Benin coup conversation, because it appears that what was taking place was a legislative change which would have impacted on effectively the ability for democracy to take place at a regular basis. So it's what I noticed quite a lot about this question of democracy and democratic values is that it can always be altered to suit the circumstances of those people who have the military power to say this is what democracy should look like. Clearly, the people of Benin did not actually want to have that type of term imposed upon them. But in addition to that, were they in a significant position to do anything? And I don't think that's the case that they are, because sometimes the military in many of these, especially the Francophile countries, they're not always focused on the people. No, not everybody, like I said, is Ibrahim Traoré, and not every coup that takes place is about liberating the community for the benefit of the community. It's sometimes, and quite often, is still for the benefit of those elites in those countries who wish to maintain the status quo, which is essentially imperialism in the form of the new neo-colonialism. Essentially, all of the companies come in, they have 100-year deals, they don't pay taxes, they holler out your country, and that's the nature of the exercise, and they want that to continue. And that's one of the key things that's happening in Benin. And I think what the military was saying, or it now turns out that these individuals may not necessarily have been, because they are now hiding out in Togo. That's a separate conversation that I'm going to bring you another creator on. It demonstrates that, the Sahel effect isn't something that's uniform. So whenever you see community uprisings, it doesn't necessarily mean that's exactly what it is. So here, this is another creator who's talking about similar things, and she's also giving her perspective, because her position is, well, what are the individuals who were engaged in an attempted coup doing now hiding out in Togo?
Coups are created equal, right? Not all coups are created equal. And the fact that the Beninese coup plotters are apparently hiding out in neighboring Togo is telling me a lot. If you know anything about the Togolese government, you know that the Togolese people have been fighting against them, the Yasinbe dynasty, forever, since Togo's inception as a republic. The Yasinbe family has been passing down authority from father to son throughout Togo's existence. And they are also backed, this authoritarian government that is anti-people is backed by the military in Togo. So the Beninese coup plotters hiding out in Togo, not a good look. I know that we want to believe that every time we see men in uniform, women in uniform take over from Western style democracies that have failed African people, we want to cheer, we want to pump our fists, but let's hold on a second until we know all of the details, or at least until we get more information. It's important. Look what happened in Tanzania. The armed forces there went against the people's will, completely destroyed the trust that people had in this institution. Just because they're soldiers does not mean that they are pro-working class or anti-imperialist or even love the people. So let's be vigilant. I think there's going to be a rise in this kind of thing where soldiers are going to posit themselves as these revolutionaries, and that the people must fall behind them just because the Sahelians set an example. Not everybody is Captain Traoré.
I think this is an important angle, and for all those people who didn't know what's happening in Tanzania, the government essentially the opposition was imprisoned. They then went ahead and had an election. There was 98% in favor of them, which everyone knows that's absolutely bunkum. And then the people came out and demonstrated, and the army basically turned on the Tanzanian people. And that was the comment that was being made by that creator there. And what she is saying is that these community uprisings in Africa, sometimes they are masquerades to indemnify the existing position, or just to replace them with local individuals who are going to be just as oppressive, or sometimes it works for the benefit, like it's happening in the Sahel state. So what's your thoughts? I mean, did you even know what was happening in Tanzania? And there was also another attempted coup attempt in Guinea Bissau, but this also, I think, was another exercise in a masquerade attempt, hoping to have the people get behind them, but they actually didn't go behind those communities. So give me your thoughts, give me your 2 pence, your 3 cedis, or your declining dollar price. Did you know what was happening in Guinea-Bissau? Did you know what was happening in Benin? Did you know what was happening in Tanzania? What do you think about the fact that the Benin plotters are in a neighboring country that has its own issues with trying to suppress the community's rights to actually self-govern? So it's a dynasty, and we always know about, and we know about those, Papa Doc and Baby Doc. Anyone who knows anything about Haiti's history, and look, we don't have to look far for dynasties. Look at the Windsors; they've been ruling here for however long. So essentially, what's your thoughts about that? Do you think that Africa, and especially in those areas, is seeing something cataclysmic? Because I absolutely think so. And the fact that people are using it and the cover of that to improve their positions tells me also that you can't hold this tide back. So give me your thoughts. Let me know. Jump up in the comments, make a contribution, and also like, share, and subscribe to the channel, which is DeniseHeadley.com. Thank you for your listening here, and cut!